Question of the day, who's the best guitarist composer you've never heard? Check out this video of world-class acoustic musicians playing a gorgeous guitar-based piece called Interwoven. So what would you call that genre of music? Tell me what you think in the comments. Is it world music, classical chamber music, jazz, Indian, modern fingerstyle, new age, all of those? Now check out the start of this live performance. This guy has 3 guitars on stands, each in a unique alternate tuning, and he strums across the open strings of each guitar in sequence. Amazingly, it's the perfect bed for free improvisation from 6 master musicians. You've got Mads Tolling on violin, Matt Renzi on reeds, Joseph Hebert on cello, Dan Feisley on bass, Ty Burho on tabla, and MB Gordy on percussion. Watch this. So for me, that's exotic, inspiring, it feels fresh. How does it make you feel? All right, so who is this guy who writes complex guitar-based music and then attracts world-class musicians to record and perform with him? The guy has a bachelor's and a master's degree in music composition. He studied with the Pulitzer Prize-winning composer Mel Powell. And these days, this guy is well recognized and heaped with praise by his compadres in the world of modern fingerstyle guitar. But I can almost guarantee you've never heard of him. I just discovered him 6 weeks ago, totally by chance. We're both from the Bay Area in California, but we met on the other side of the country at Chris Thiele's Acoustic Camp. Well, now I'm going to pass along my discovery. This is Mark Vickness and his band MVI. MVI is an acronym for Mark Vickness Interconnected. Here's another little taste. So the closest comparison I can think of is the Paul Winter Concert. They had a classic album back in 1972 called Icarus. And the title song had this achingly beautiful cello melody, and it was written by another great guitarist-composer, Ralph Towner. And that album was produced by none other than George Martin of Beatles fame. Icarus still knocks me out for melodic beauty and pastoral textures, guitar, cello, violin, oboe, percussion. And that's exactly how I feel about MVI just 50 years later. So today I have an exclusive interview with Mark Vickness, the best guitarist composer you've never heard. So you're going to learn about those exotic tunings. You'll discover his cool and beautiful guitars. I ask him some weird guitar questions about strings and picks and other geeky stuff that people like you and I care about. And then in the lightning round, I give him prompts to uncover how he thinks and what inspires him. So let's find out what you and I, as creative, aspiring guitarists, can learn from a master whose star is on the rise. Without further ado, meet Mark Vickness. Okay, so my intention with this interview is it's going to be wide-ranging, and some of it's a little wacky, and some of it's not, right?
Okay,
so
great.
Just you can kind of go wherever you want to.
Fantastic.
By the way, I really enjoyed your stage banter. And I was like, let your personality hang out here,
Thank
please.
you.
All right, so you'll this is a tough one. I don't know how I would answer this question, but try to describe your current music in 3 words or less.
Progressive acoustic.
You did it in 2 words. Even better. Any different words for your earlier music than your current music?
I have been through so many musical phases in my life. I mean, I started learning music when I was 6 years old. I'm 67 now. So this is a long journey that has gone through lots and lots of different phases. You know, obviously I did a lot of classical composition. I was a solo jazz guitarist. I had a jazz quartet, and I was playing in a jazz big band all at the same time.
Do you consider yourself more of a guitarist or a composer?
Composer. I mean, I love the guitar, obviously, love the instrument dearly. And I started on guitar when I was about, well, whenever puberty hit. That's when, back in the day, you would go to electric guitars.
Correct.
So whatever that was, 13 or something like that. I consider myself sort of a functional guitarist. Like, I need to do this in order to realize this idea that I have. And so if I need to push my hands to do something that I wouldn't normally do, then I got to push my hands to do it, because that's
you and I
is.
totally share that, Mark. That's something I've never been the virtuoso guitarist. Like, I never set myself up that way. I set myself up as a guitarist who could do what I needed to get my ideas either in the form of a song, a composition, a record, whatever,
Yeah.
So I totally relate to that. So my question for you then on composition is, how often are you sitting at a keyboard instead of a guitar?
Frequently, because now I'm writing for a large ensemble, so I'm not doing violin and cello and wind parts, with a guitar in front of me. As a practical matter, I will normally get the skeleton of a composition done on guitar, because most of the chordal sort of harmonic framework is coming from me. It's pretty common that musical ideas will come to me when I'm driving. So if I get an idea while I'm driving, then I'm going to pull over and I'm going to pull my phone out and I'm going to literally sing the idea into my phone.
Let's talk about your show. I was at your show last week. You began the show in this really arresting way where you strummed across these 3 acoustic guitars. You were kind enough to set this up for me.
Sure.
Give us a strum for a
Yeah, okay.
Okay, first of all, beautiful open tunings. I got to give it to you on that.
Thank you.
Tell us about those tunings.
I do a lot of original tunings. Nothing on this album or my last album or the album before that. There's no standard tuning playing. I started down this road when I heard Michael Hedges perform, tragically, what turned out to be his final San Francisco performance. At that point in time, I was pretty much an electric guitarist. He opened with Aerial Boundaries, and about 11 bars into Aerial Boundaries, there is a big slap harmonic at the 12th fret. Hit that slap harmonic, my life changed as a musician. And it then became clear to me what I needed to be doing, which was not playing electric guitars anymore.
Wow.
And literally the next day, I started putting my electric guitars up for sale.
Of course, the irony being that all the acoustic guitars then are being electrified in these amazing ways.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yes, you're
Yes.
having to do that.
But it's something about the natural acoustics of the instrument and what they do.
Yes, exactly. And his style, all of the things that he brought as really the father of modern fingerstyle guitar. And of course, because I had a background in composition, the idea of retuning my guitars, in such a way as to bring forth certain kinds of emotions had a tremendous appeal. This one is D-A-E G-A-D. So that's very close to Dadgad, which I do not play in Dadgad. And I'm not sure why. It's a wonderful tuning, but so many people play in it that it's almost not a alter tuning anymore. This guitar, this Greenfield, will allow super low tunings. So this one is down to B flat, B flat, F, C, F, G, C. And I stole this from John Gaume, a British modern fingerstyle player, brilliant player. And I told John I had stolen his tuning for several of the pieces on the new album, and he was absolutely delighted. By the way, this guitar was designed by John.
That's the
This is the John Gaume 10, the JGM 10. This one, this is D A C D A E. So it's a D minor 9 type of a tuning. And the interesting thing about this tuning is that you have to string the guitar with 2 D strings. So there's no G string. So you get that second in the middle of the tuning, which gives you a lot of interesting melodic possibilities for harmonics.
Beautiful. Yeah. And that's a Cole Clark I'm noticing from Australia, right?
Yes, it is. I came across this guitar traveling in Montgomery, Alabama. Very strange. Walked into a music store with my son, and I started playing it. I was like, what is this? Because this thing sounds great.
Yeah.
Plugged in, it sounds fantastic. Just easy, quarter inch. Unlike the Greenfield, which is complicated with multiple pickups. Same with the Ibanez, all that. So this one is very easy.
That begs the question, what's your favorite guitar and why?
The Greenfield, I have another Greenfield upstairs that is a baritone that Michael made for me. And those instruments are definitely my favorite. Both because they are so extraordinary in what they can do. We were talking about this ability to play very high on the neck, even on the bass strings. And the guitar stays in tune. I'm at the 15th fret here, 15 and 17, and I have voicings that I can play. They all stay in tune, and they sound amazing.
So you said the guitar upstairs is a baritone.
Yes.
I mean, this is clearly a baritone. It's tuned to B flat.
It's not.
It's not a baritone.
It's tuned, actually the low string lower than a baritone, right, which is B. Yeah, I just put this guitar to its test. To see, because normally,
that's
you
insanity right there.
Yeah, you could play this at standard tuning.
So you're answering a question about fan frets. What is it that drew you to fan frets? This has to be one of the reasons, but tell us.
Right. Well, so what drew me to this was the first time I saw Andy McKee perform. He came to San Francisco, saw him perform, and he was playing a Greenfield G4. I was like, okay, I have to have that. It was basically what it was. Like, I must have that. And I've since become a good friend of Michael's, and I've been to his shop in Montreal 2 or 3 times, I think now. I call Michael the Wood Whisperer.
Tell me about your favorite strings. What do you string your guitars with?
I use elixirs, and I string my guitars with custom gauge strings. So depending on the tuning, I want to get the richest possible sound, but they're all Elixir nanowebs, obviously except for the plain steels.
Do you have to cobble together then different sets, or can you actually? Okay, I was going to say you can't go to Elixir and say I want to.
No. Yeah. I have an old. It used to be a cassette case. It's just got all these different gauge strings. every so often, 4 to 6 months, I'll just do a big string order. But yeah, I mean, this string is a 70 gauge string. So
it's clearly massive. I didn't even know licks are made of 70s. So.
Yeah, they do. And I actually have 80 gauge strings as well.
All right, so I noticed your fingernails. I can't help but notice those. Those are the fingernails of a classical musician right there. Mm-hmm. Do you ever use flat picks, finger picks, etc.? Tell me about that.
I use flat picks, yes, for sure. I still love flat picking, and there are certain techniques on guitar that I love to do. Chicken picking. You can't get that with a fingernail. It's just not possible. You can approximate it, but it's never going to be quite the same funky chicken picking. So I will sometimes use my index finger as a full strumming. I mean, it's because it's acrylic, it's very solid. So I can do that.
So you build up your nails using acrylic? Is that?
I don't build them. I go down the street here because I that's not my expertise. And I've been going there for years, same exact place, so they know exactly what to do.
I love it. Guitarist Nail Salon.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's called Love Nails, right down the street. A lot of modern fingerstyle players do this because it gives you so much more volume. You can really just rip into the strings. And I discovered this one day when I was actually going to be doing a show. This was years and years ago. And I broke one of my nails. The day of the show, and I was mortified.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I going to do? And so that was the first time I walked into a nail salon and said, "Can you help me?" And they did this, and I was like, "Wow! I can play like 3 times louder."
Yeah.
With this setup.
You're talking to guys who've been finger picking all my life. I've never done it. I've always just used my natural nails.
Your natural nails. So yeah. So,
no,
I mean,
excited.
Be cautious. Yeah, I mean, if you do it, it will definitely change the way you approach things.
I once had a conversation with James Taylor, and I remember he used Sally Hansen Hard as nails on his, particularly for his thumb. He said the thumb is the one that always is cracking and breaking and whatever.
Yeah, so Andy McKee does acrylic for his thumb, and then no nails for the rest of the fingers. No. So yeah. So everybody's got their thing.
These are the secrets. Yes, these are the secrets people care about. So given that you play in a lot of alternate tunings, I'm curious to know how important is music theory compared to, let's just say, feel.
Knowing what I know about theory and composition, it simply informs the ears. My sort of truth about this is that the quality of a musician, composer, player, whatever, is much more centered around what that musician hears. There are a lot of guitar players out here who have the technical chops of a Pat Metheny, but none of them are Pat Metheny. And the reason is because of what Pat hears. As a composer and as a performer as well, it's what's coming from inside your mind. What are you hearing?
It's fascinating to me, isn't it, that you can have these people who are extraordinary technicians. They can be far beyond anything I've ever imagined of myself. And yet, when it comes to creating something new, a composition, it's just not part of their wheelhouse. It's a fascinating thing to me. It's one of the things that keeps me going, right? Is that I don't have to be a virtuoso to be composing things that move me and move other people.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is so true.
What musical influences do you think are the most obvious in your playing and composing?
In my playing, we talked about Michael Hedges. If I had to pick out one player who had the biggest influence on me, it would easily be Michael. And with respect to composition, there is one composer who I revere higher than any other by orders of magnitude, and that's J.S. Bach. I'm more than a fan of Bach, I'm more of like a devotee. When I got to college and I passed, I had enough theory and stuff in high school that I was able to pass out of the introductory courses. And so as a freshman, I started on Baroque counterpoint. And one of our first assignments was to analyze one of Bach's fugues from the Well-Tempered Clavier. I was given F sharp minor. Thank you very much. Right. But I didn't know the piece at all, and up until that time, I felt that Bach was somewhat predictable. And then I analyzed that thing note for note, and it was door unlocked. It was shocking to me.
Yeah.
The structure of this thing, like how. I came to think there was a good argument that he was an alien. I mean, he could improvise that stuff.
Absolutely.
He could sit down at an organ and improvise 4 or 5 boys' fugues.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not really something normal humans can do.
It's a little of the Mozart playing upside down and backwards.
Similar.
Yeah.
Similar. It's like, yeah.
Who's the guitarist that most amazes you?
I'll just throw out a couple names because there's so many that have had a big influence. Joe Pass for jazz playing, John McLaughlin, Pat Metheny, Ralph Towner, Elliot Fisk, and of course Hedges, and then more recently there's a family sort of modern fingerstyle players who I've gotten to know somewhat personally. Trevor Gordon Hall, people like Andy McKee, John Gom. Still, it's hard to pick one out.
Okay, here comes the stream of consciousness
Okay,
round.
all right.
Quick answers, and these are just random. Written or improvised?
I'll go with improvised.
Rhythm or lead?
For me, rhythm.
Sweet or spicy?
I'm going to go with sweet.
He's honest. A lot of people be like, I'll have to be spicy just because it's cool.
Yeah.
No, you're going with sweet. I love it. Simple or complex?
I'm going to go with complex, if I'm being honest.
Transcendently perfect or imperfectly transcendent?
Imperfectly transcendent. I like that.
Before we go, any shout outs you want to make to anybody or about anything?
Shout outs. Yeah, I want to shout out your EP. The title is
Life Inside.
Life Inside. Thank you. I listened to the whole EP while we were together at Acoustic Camp. Absolutely knocked my socks off. It's brilliant. So that's what I want to shout out.
Thanks for doing this, number one. Thanks
you.
for bringing out your trio of tunings here. There's something in this, what you're doing now, that I feel like you've captured the essence of something that I believe you were trying to capture, which is that high desert. What you did musically that makes me feel like, this does feel like the high desert. There's something cinematic about it. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the cinema in Mark's brain.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes.
Well, I'm thrilled to have met you. I'm so glad we made the connection.
Likewise.
And I will help you promote this record in any way I can.
Thank you,
because I believe in it.
Thank you.
I really do.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, I want to make it easy for you to find and follow Mark and MVI on Spotify or Apple Music, so I made playlists, and you'll find them in the description. Please check them out, because I think of Mark's last 3 albums as music to live by. He's got a solo guitar CD called Places from 2010. There's the 2020 LP, Interconnected, and that's solo and ensemble pieces. And then the newest album, In the Rain Shadow, is the full band. But if you take these albums together, the 3 form a trilogy, and the mix of solo and band compositions is beautiful, whether you listen in sequence or on shuffle. I actually suggest using this playlist as kind of a daily soundtrack for a while, because it has a way of making everyday life feel more relaxed and richer, and the pieces open up over time kind of like fine wines. All right, that's your guitar discovery for the day, one that should last you a while. Okay, so what's next? Well, I always say visit guitardiscoveries.com. There's over 200 videos over there to inform, inspire, and keep you making music. Or you can listen to the first track from my EP that Mark was talking about. It would mean the world to me if you'd give it a spin.